And we're back. Day 5 of Porsche 931 rebuild. So last night I took the time to read through some technical information procedures. I had two books that came with this 931. The Hayes Manual. Now this is for 1976 through 1980. So I think I'm still good in that regard, even though this is an 82. And then this is actually the workshop manual for the 924 Turbo. So both of these came with the car. And let's talk a little bit about the history on the car again. Because when I bought it, it was sitting at a paint and body shop. Had been abandoned by the owner, who apparently couldn't afford repairs that were needed. And so he had given the title to the owner of the paint and body shop, who sold it to me. It not only came with those manuals, but it also came with an original bill of sale, which indicated that the original owner was the son of the man who abandoned it, the son had passed away, and he had actually owned normally aspirated 924 prior to that car, and then traded it in after a year for the Turbo. And then at some point it was sent to Andile for performance improvements, which was a Porsche performance shop. And the other information I got regarding service history was this little sticker on the airbox. Scooby Rogers, which was a Nashville Porsche mechanic, had obviously done some service work on it as well, but Andile had fitted it with water injection. I suspect the Turbo had, the wastegate was probably shimmed or had a different spring rate in it to increase boost. And that's about the extent of the service history I have on the car. Also, Andile fitted it with these aftermarket gauges. I discussed that with you guys as I was taking the car apart, because there's a oil temperature sensor and that boost gauge, which were not OE to the 924 Turbo. So I've made a spot here to put the parts I'm about ready to pull off the engine, the head, the turbo, a clean area, because one thing that the Hayes manual reiterates over and over is that these mating surfaces must be kept clean. Also, I'm trying to contact Hoffman Machine Shop in Georgia regarding the head. After I read through the procedures on the rebuilding the head, it's a little bit more than I want to tackle, requires some specialized tools. So I'm going to see if Hoffman will do the head work for me. And then I think the engine block, pistons, rings, the bearings, all that are pretty easy to deal with. So that's where I'm at this moment. Right now, I'm going to get in here and pull the turbo off, the oil pump, that motor mount, passenger side, the intake, which that looks like it's going to be a lot of fun because those nuts are super rusty. You've got the distributor, and that's part of the cooling system. That's actually a oil pressure sender, which is in the weirdest spot, not even close to the oil pump. Very strange. And what else needs to come off? Obviously the head, water pump, thermostat. So we'll start taking all this apart and we'll see where it goes from there. So a couple interesting things. When I was pulling the turbo off, I found a exhaust gasket trapped behind it. So at some point this exhaust has been off. Also, the turbo bracket mounts, these 4 bolts here, I think most of those were missing, unless I took them off earlier, removing other components. Getting the one bolt that goes up into that flange is troublesome, and I would not want to have to do that underneath the car. It would really, really suck. So, and you can see there's a nut missing on the exhaust because I haven't even started on those. I know they're going to be really troublesome. So that's all for now. So the exhaust manifold wasn't quite as bad as I thought it would be. Didn't have to use a torch or anything to get those out. However, there was on the passenger side motor mount, the bolt that was in here would not come out. I tried heating it with a torch. It wouldn't break free. So I got in there with a grinder, and it's been my experience a lot of times when you hit those bolts with a grinder and superheat them, because they'll get red hot, as soon as you get the head sheared off, it'll start to spin. And that's exactly what happened, which is fine, because it just saves me from having to extract the stub. So now, I've gotten the water pump off, most of these components off the front, and I'm ready to take off the oil pump. However, this 24 millimeter bolt that goes into the nose of the crank, well, she's not wanting to budge. And if you think about that, every time you spin that crank with a tool, you are tightening that bolt because you're spinning clockwise, and that joker is frozen up. I've tried a couple of breaker bars. My breaker bar's flexing. A little bit concerned about putting 300 foot-pounds of torque on something that, it joins into the nose of the crank, although you would think it could handle that. So what I did, because there's no way to keep the crank from spinning, I put a couple of flywheel bolts in the other side of the crank and ran this bar through the stand, and that's holding it steady. But I'm putting a lot of force on that sucker. I got one more trick to try with another breaker bar, and then I may have to look into getting a heavier impact wrench, because all I have right now is this little battery powered one, which only does about 100 foot-pounds. So that's where I'm at there. I got a couple other things I could do. I could pull the head without worrying about that oil pump for now. I need to get the distributor off the back. Want to read about that a little, make sure I don't monkey that up. So we'll be doing some more stuff here directly. So the distributor's off, and I took the cam cover off. I'm no expert. That cam looks pretty good. I don't see heavy wear, maybe a little. The only way to tell is to mic it. There's a bit of a spot there. So Haynes' book has you pulling the cam out, tappets and all that. I think I'm just going to go ahead and pull the head directly off because the valves are pretty deeply inset in the head. So that'll give me a good look at the pistons and the rings, see if there's any bore scoring. We're getting close. Well, the head is off. And valves don't look that bad to me. Head should be at top dead center. And that intake, actually that'd be exhaust, should be closed. So that's an adjustment. And you can kind of see down in there. Let's go look at the cylinder walls. So you can see clearly where this car sat for an extended period of time. Got some corrosion at the top of the cylinders. So that had probably, depending on what position it was sitting in, whenever it was parked, went down. Like this cylinder wall, you can see it went down the wall there. So, I mean, at very least, these cylinder walls are going to need to be honed. And if you look at the piston, it doesn't appear to be perfectly aligned in the cylinder, which would tell me ring wear. Like that one, a little egg-shaped. So I'm going to rotate this thing a couple of times and just look at this some more. But I mean, it'd be insane not to replace the rings at this point and the rod bearings. I mean, just something that needs to be done. So I did get the 24mm bolt out of the front of the crank using that big breaker bar with a pipe on it and some heat. Thankful for that. That enabled me to get the oil pump off, which you actually have to pull the pan first because it's kind of trapped in there. Haynes says you don't have to, but I think you do. So the bottom end, you know, is sludgy, but you know, there's not a lot of play in the rod bearings. I mean, a little bit. So no catastrophic damage or anything. Just usual sludge down in the pan, no pieces, parts that I can see right now. I'll have to get in there and clean it up real good. But I mean, that's all good news. So, good stopping place for today. And we'll pick it up again soon. Thanks for watching.